So have you ever had like a moment of nostalgia where it's something that you weren't really around for, or you couldn't really have experienced, or you weren't around to experience, but when you see it, or in this case, whenever you play it, it feels nostalgic? It's kind of how I felt playing Yars Rising. I don't have any kind of experience with the Yars series. Like I remember growing up, I would see Yars Revenge like mentioned on lists or in magazines, and when I see it, it's like nothing really crossed my mind. And I was like, maybe some type of space shooter or whatever. Knew it was old. As much as I knew. I didn't know anything else about it other than it being old. And the R series apparently is from Atari's way back in the day on the Atari series. I've never played it. I never knew anything about it other than seeing his name a lot. That's as far as my history goes with Yars. I bought this game because I thought like maybe this is a reboot of the Yars series or a reimagining or something like that. It would have to be for an old Atari game to be released in this modern era like this. And as you can tell by the footage, it's like if anybody's ever played Yars, it's a one screen space shooter, and this is a Metroidvania. It has to be a reimagining. But as per my history with Yars as a whole, as far as Atari goes, I never owned an Atari. I owned a Commodore 64 that had a slot in the back where you put cartridges, and I don't really know if those were Atari cartridges or did Commodore just happen to have its own, but it did have some games like Centipede, which I believe Atari also made, and Missile Command, which Atari also made. So that I believe Atari made those anyways, but I believe they made it. Anyways, I played those games and they're Atari-like. I'll put it that way at best. So that's my only experience with Atari. I know they made either made or published some games on like the GameCube, and I think over the years they have made some games. Have I played them? No, not really at all. I don't have any experience with Atari other than it's an old console. It was an old console, old developers that made those, pixelated, one screen, mostly space shooter type games. I mean, they would have some other type of genres or whatever. Most of them come out as like space shooters. So no, I don't really have any experience with Atari as a whole. They're the people who published this game. And then the developers was Wayforward, who I do know a lot about. I love the Shantae series, like one of my favorite series out there. I know they also have a lot to do with the River City Girls of games. I played River City Girls, loved that one. Still gonna play River City Girls 2. I'll review that whenever I eventually play it. I've got it. I just haven't played it yet. I know he did Double Dragon Neon, which I've heard a lot of mixed stuff about. I played it. I loved it. I heard a lot of people didn't really like it and weren't fans of it. But Wayforward has a very, very good track record with their games. They seem to understand still how a lot of 2D games have creativity with beautiful graphics. Like they just have this kind of magic they add to it that you don't really see that often in other games and other developers when they do it. But when Wayforward does it, you're gonna get a good, solid, quality game, which is exactly what this is. So moving on to the characters, or actually no, we'll move to the story first, and then we'll go on to the characters. Kind of in combination, you play as Emi Kimura, who is hired to infiltrate the Kotek Corporation, which has their hands in a lot of the stuff that goes in the world. Like it's not really just one thing. As you're playing the game, you find out they do this, they supply this, they supply that, they do different kinds of things. So it's not really a one thing they really do. But they're a corporation that's kind of shady a bit, and she was hired to kind of hack and figure out what's going on. And she works there, so she kind of works undercover doing this. And that's pretty much the whole story. Is when she goes to infiltrate the complex itself to get to the servers, she ends up getting caught and she's trapped in the building. And it is a absolute large facility of a building with a lot of underground stuff, above ground, a bunch of different servers. There's a bunch of stuff going on in this building that she has to kind of sneak around and get through. And not really gonna spoil too much anymore of the story, but that's really your big goal of it. Is if you ever play like a Metroid type game, this is Metroidvania, is that kind of thing. You different rooms, different stuff kind of stops you. You got to get to certain power ups and things of that nature. That's pretty much where that's going. As far as the characters goes, this is kind of where there's a big up and down here for all the characters. We'll start with Emmy, who's the main character. The voice actor for her character, I actually really love. The voice acting and her personality is really, really good. Like, she's a really fun character. She's not really annoying. The only kind of annoying thing she kind of does is it's not really her fault. She talks to herself throughout the whole game a lot. Like, she Spider-Man quips the entire game through, and it's charming because you get to learn more about her and how she thinks stuff in certain situations. But at other times, it's like she comments on stuff a little too often. They don't repeat themselves, surprisingly, but there's just too many comments on, hey, this is an enemy here. Oh, why are these enemies over here in the vent? Man, this place really loves big vents and stuff like that I can crawl through and things like that. So it gets a little bit much at times. One of her people that she works with is Mal Foster. I think her name is Mal Foster. I don't think they really actually say her name throughout the entire game. They call her Mal all the time. Everybody has a handle. Emmy's is Yar. Mal's is Mal. And she's a really close friend to Emmy. This is a bit where the up and down kind of goes as far as the game. It's like, you kind of, by the way they interact with each other, you can tell they're kind of close. In fact, when I first started playing the game, I thought they were sisters because they somewhat look alike a little bit. Well, not alike, but they look very similar to each other. But the way they talk to each other, they feel like they're really close. But you never really get too many examples of them being close other than kind of the way they talk to each other. But there's no real examples shown, or their conversations are kind of like, because Emmy's very, how do I put it? She's not closed off, but she's really goofy-ish, and she kind of says what she's thinking, no matter how stupid it sounds sometimes. Like, she's not really a stupid character, but she just, I don't know, the fact that she kind of talks to herself and the stuff that she says, she's just kind of a silly-ish character. Like, she's serious. She's good at her job, but she's very silly-ish and kind of a bit of a smart aleck. I guess that's probably the best way to put it. And Mal is pretty no nonsense. She doesn't really, like, she kind of just rolls her eyes at some of the stupid stuff Emmy says all the time, and she's very direct, to the point, need to get this done kind of thing. So they kind of bounce off to each other like that. But their problem is, like, other than a few passing here and there conversations, you don't really get too much of a understanding of how close they are, or even how they got that close. So I think that's a little bit up and down as far as the story and the character is. They're both good characters, but I think Mal's not written enough for you to understand her, because this is the Emmy show and you're mostly getting to know how Emmy is. So Mal kind of falls short on that one, but she's still a good character all in all. Another person they work with is Anthony Kitbash Ochoa. He is basically kind of a love interest for Emmy. You can't even really call it that. Basically, Emmy has a crush on Anthony, or Kit Bash. As the whole game goes through, they call each other by the handle, so I'll just call Kit Bash. So basically, she's a dork, and when she talks to him, she accidentally says the stuff that she was thinking, and she says it out loud. She tries to kind of run it back every time she says it, but she can't really help it. She's already said it, it's been heard and such like that. Calling him a love interest is kind of, I don't know, it's saying more than it's actually saying. Basically, she has a crush on him. He's oblivious to it. He's a good guy who likes the job that they do and stuff like that, and he's pretty skilled at hacking, like probably about on her level, maybe a step below or something like that. But that's really what he's doing. He's just kind of doing his job, and he enjoys what needs to be done. He's a smart guy, and she just can't really, as obvious as she's kind of being with, saying stuff to him, he kind of just waves it off a bit. I guess, I don't know, it's playful banter maybe in his end. Like, again, it's another character that you don't learn much about other than that Emmy has a crush on him, and that's it. You really don't know anything else about him other than he's somewhat skilled and he has some knowledge of things as far as the hacking and the building goes. That's about it. And then you got Kian Refresh Winters. They call him Refresh. I think he suffers probably the most from this lack of character development in these, because it's so bad for him. Like he's a good character. He's a really nice guy. He's goofy, but his problem is that's all he is. He is just the comedy character, to the point that even during the game at some point, that even Emmy, when she's talking to herself, she's like, Kit Bash is such a nice, not Kit Bash, but Refresh is such a nice guy, but he doesn't really have any hacking skills. And she's trying to think, like, what does he do while he's here on this team, other than him being a nice guy and getting people to smile? And his lines are actually really good. He's actually overall the really nice guy, nice character of the group. I mean, it comes off that way, but you also wonder, other than being the comedy relief, that he uses internet slang with a lot of stuff that he talks. Like, he sounds like, your Twitter or Reddit user. Like, he uses a lot of, he's that kind of character. He's the one who says the internet lingo as he's talking to people, instead of just doing it in like comments. Actually, most people do know he says these things and uses it in his everyday lingo, and it's just, I'm not gonna say it's cringe, but it's weird for him. But all in all, he's a nice character though. But that's one of his biggest issues as a character, is that's all he's really known for. He does not do anything throughout the whole game other than he's somebody you hear from on occasion. And like I said, that's the problem with all the characters. This is the Emmy show, so all the characters don't get any real development, all in all, except for Emmy, who's the only person who really grows and shows some characteristic, but she's kind of the only one really here because you're using her all the time. And on that one, we'll go how the gameplay goes. When you look at the back of the box of the game, it says stealth gameplay, retro mini games, and sci-fi themed 2D platformer. So I'll just go down the line on that one. When they say stealth, there is stealth in this game, as far as if you watch some of the gameplay. If you're not, you just listen to me. You do hide behind stuff like boxes, so enemies don't see you, because early in the game you don't have really a lot of ways to defend yourself, so you do end up doing some kind of hiding around, certain areas in rooms or certain doors in the background. You kind of, saddle to the door and wait for them to walk past you and go, and go past them. And there's cameras, lasers, there's like different stuff that have to do with stealth as far as exploring, but I don't really consider this game to be heavy on the stealth. Like, it's weird to see that as a back of the box thing, because the stealth is pretty early in the game and it loses its luster and its existence like a little bit less than halfway through the game, and it doesn't come back. So the stealth is there, but to me it's more like you're just exploring. It's more like what you're doing more than you're actually doing the stealth, but it's there, so that's where that's at. I'm gonna skip the retro minigames. I got more to say about that, so we'll go to the sci-fi themed 2D platformer. It's a Metroidvania. Like, if you're looking at the gameplay, it looks like a Metroid game. I can't really explain too much more of that. You're going around and you're given a big map. Like I said, you're going through this gigantic complex. You're given a map. The map doesn't fill up until you reach these certain terminals that will give you a basic area what the map's going to be. You go through the area, you find whatever power up or whatever. You basically you're searching around trying to find different exits, different way to go through here. You have different doors that are stopping you because you need, oddly mentioning Metroid again, you need something like a missile to shoot through a door, or you need to sneak past this, or you need to get to this terminal. It's a Metroidvania. If you ever played any Metroid game or any Metroid game, this is what you're in for. There's nothing really outside of that you're doing on here. We have the retro mini games, and when I say retro mini games, they seem like they're very Atari based games, but the problem is I've never played anything on Atari other than Centipede and Missile Command, so I don't have any kind of reference for these games, but they're fun. They're really fun Atari games. I imagine a lot of these are old Atari games. I know it's not like video game development now where, it takes years and years to make. A lot of people were making games, and it could be something as simple as, you're a spaceship and you shoot this square, and that's it. And a lot of these mini games, that's what you're doing. You're hacking a terminal And instead of doing a hacking thing like, other games where you got to fill up tubes of water or lockpick or do all these other weird things, no, this one you're playing a mini game that seems like an Atari game. And it's fun. And this is where when I was talking about nostalgia, it's like I don't have any nostalgia for Atari games 'cause I didn't play them back in the day. But as I'm playing this and it's using the terminal hacking for just playing an Atari game, like you're playing a small session of Centipede. That's the only example I've really got. And you just play a level of Centipede, and bam! If you finish it without getting hit, you won it. And that's just the thing. It's a one-hit thing. Like you hit. The terminal kicks you out of the hack and whatever, you lose a certain percentage of your health or whatever, and you just try it again. And that's how you do that. It's like I said, it's really fun. I don't really know how else to explain it. If you like WarioWare games, like the mini, this only lasts a couple seconds and go. That's what this kind of is. You're playing a Atari-like game to do the hacking, and some of them are hard. Not gonna lie, some of them take like a lot of attempts to do. And I can't really say exactly because they're different kind of games, but the overall thread seems to be you're using what I assume is like a Yar symbol or whatever, because you see the symbol throughout the game. You're using a Yar symbol, and that's like your spaceship. And what you're supposed to be doing, you're supposed to clear the area so you can get to what they call a Kotal, which is usually some type of weird bow and arrow looking spaceship. And you're trying to hit it with your Z cannon. Z cannon is basically like this is such a weird way of explaining it. You need to get your Yar symbol over to the enemy, and you keep running into it, you nibble it, and you get an energy that allows you to use a Z cannon. The Z cannon ends up on the other side of where your ship is, and you're basically got to lead that shot to hit the Kotal. You end up different stuff, like sometimes there's a barrier you have to nibble through, sometimes there's a barrier you have to shoot through. There's multiple different things that makes it a little harder than it sounds. But basically, your only defense is you shoot what's in your way. The missile's what kills the Kotal, and the Kotal will do this little spinny attack that if it hits you, that's it. You gotta redo the whole thing over. Some of them are pretty difficult, and like when they do the little spinny attack, they actually track you kind of. Some of them go at an angle, some of them bounce, some of them have two kind of ways. Sometimes you fight more than one enemy on. There's different kinds of things. I'm really curious if a lot of these games are Atari games that I'm just constantly playing. They look like it, but like I said, Atari games aren't really that heavily graphic or anything like that, so they wouldn't be hard to make. So I don't know how many of them are actually just pseudo Atari games, but some of them are actually Atari games. The only ones I do know there are hack games for Centipede, Missile Command, and they have Yars Revenge apparently. At least that's how it's labeled, so I'm guessing they have the Yars Revenge game in this. It's not really too surprising. It's just I only know because of what it said on the title. That's exactly what it is. I imagine some of these other ones you're doing are actual Atari games. But that aside, when you do win the mini game, there's depending on what terminal you got, there's different things that happen. You have some terminals just open doors. Other ones give you a thing called a biohack. Basically, it's kind of like your menu where you kind of equip yourself with certain perks. Like, say you get a biohack that gives you 25% more health. And in this biohack, Emmy pulls out her phone, and it's kind of in the shape of the Yar thing that you're constantly using or whatever, and you have to kind of Tetris your way into all these different stats. So you may get an L-shaped biohack that you got to put on there, but you got to make sure it fits to where you can get the we'll just say 3 squares, make sure it fits in there. So you can't just equip every little possible thing you find. They're all different shapes, like some of them are 3 squares, some of them are L-shaped, some are just a single square, some are 2, blah, 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 things of that nature. And so you're limited on what you can equip, and it doesn't change. That Yar shape, that's what you have from the second one to the game all the way to the end. It never really goes anything past that. So and that's the fun part about it. It's like that's the other part of the Metroidvania is like this is more closer to Castlevania part. It's like you can customize Emmy to do how you want it. You want more attack power, you want more life, you want to be able to jump faster, you want to crawl through an event faster or whatever. You can do it as long as you can fit it on that Yar symbol, whatever. You got it. And going along with that is you also get your different kind of regular power-ups, like you have an ability only to jump like once or whatever. You get an ability to kind of jump twice, and your different movement abilities that allow you to get to get up to higher areas, to get up to lower areas, to be able to do this, do that. And the stuff that stopped you from going before, you get things that will push you to be able to go to the next area, kind of thing. And they're not all tied to boss fights. Some of them are tied to just being able to do the hack area, but you got to find a certain computer that allows you to do that. So it has that same, it's Metroidvania. That's kind of what goes along to it. You get different movement-based things that help you. This is what stops you from going to this area because you need to double jump. You can't get up there without it. You need to go find a double jump somewhere. Go look in your map, see if you missed something. And that's pretty much how it is with the gameplay. I know that's a pretty long explanation, but it's kind of where the specialty of the game comes from. It's all the retro stuff that's in this, the Metroidvania part. The graphics on this are really nice and such like that. But the other part of it is also really good with the game. It's something I don't really talk about a lot is the music. This game actually has some really good music. Like you're hearing it in the background of one of the songs. This is the stealth song. This is what you'll hear a lot when you do have to do the stealth areas. This is the kind of the song you'll hear. But the music is actually really good. It's a bunch of different genres. It's pop, electronic pop, jazz. There's a bunch of different genres onto it. I actually wrote down a bit on some of the artists that are in it because some of them I'm familiar with. Megan McDuffie. She does the River City Girls. If you've probably heard her voice in some of the songs or whatever, you ever played River City Girls? Really good job on this game and on that game as well. Tommy Pedrini. The only thing I was able to find they did was something called Vitamin Connection Cyberkin or whatever. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's a game, anime, or whatever it is, but they did a really good job in the music here. Don't know what it sounds like anywhere else on that. Christina V, who does the voice for Shantae, also does some of the songs on here. Really good job, amazing job. But I mean, always, every time she does a song in any one of the Wayforward games, it's always really good. And that's really, there's like I said, there's a bunch of other artists or whatever. A lot of them I've never heard of, and when I looked them up, no reference whatsoever to. I mean, there's a reference to what they've done, but I'm looking at it like never played this game, never seen this anime, never seen the show, never heard the song, so don't have a lot of reference. But I love the soundtrack. Every single song in this game I like. There's not a single, for me anyways, there's not a single bad song on here. So I definitely suggest, if you play the game and you like the music, definitely listen to it. I mean, if you don't end up playing the game, give the music itself a try. You may actually just like the music. I honestly feel like the music might fit better when you're playing the game. I don't know how it feels to listen to music without playing the game, so, because I played the game, I don't have that, frame of reference anymore. But, let me know in the comments if you actually do decide to listen to music without playing the game. If it ends up being, just as good, just as songs, then, hey, more power to you. But music is really good. The game does have some flaws. Like, it's not perfect. I will say it's become like one of my top favorite games after playing it. Like, I wish I could explain, but everything about this, the whole cyberpunk feel to the game is really good. I love the animation. I love the way forward done to it. I love the music. I love the story to the game. Like, I wish I could explain more about the story, but I don't want to ruin it with any spoilers. So, but the story is actually really good. Like, I love just about everything about this game. There are a few flaws to this game, and they're not major flaws though, but there's stuff that if I didn't mention it, I would be like, I don't want to sit there and be like, oh, this is the perfect game ever. No, that's not the case. For one, the villains, very unimportant. They're very unimportant. I do know that some of the villains are Atari game references, but that's about the exciting part about them. These villains, like, as you're playing through the game, they do not exist. Your villain of the game for this is pretty much the complex. I mean, it's not really the complex, but it feels like it might as well just be the complex itself and the different levels you go through, because the villains are extremely non-existent. You hear the name a lot, you don't see them, and they don't do a lot to you throughout most of the game, so they barely exist. Not the major villain anyway. I said this before, another part that's an issue is Emmy's quips are, like I said, she's a charming character, but the quips, like, as you're going through the game, they really get kind of old, or it's like, why are you commenting on this when you already kind of commented it in a different kind of way beforehand? It's like, it's charming because you get to learn a bit more of her character, but a lot of it's kind of just Spider-Man-ish, where it's just like it's almost like they feel like they don't want any dead air while you're playing the game. So it's like have her say this about this. So like her lines aren't bad, but they have their moments where they're just like, just stop. Also, the same problem with Emmy is not this isn't the Emmy problem. It's the problem of the game is the other characters. Every single other character that's not Emmy isn't like important. Like you don't get any none of the characters are fleshed out. All the side characters that are on Emmy's team don't really get much of a fleshing out. The villains don't get to know too much about them. You don't get to know much anything about Kotek. The only thing you really learn about is really just Emmy more than anything. And to be honest with you, you really don't learn a whole lot about Emmy. You learn about her personality and a little bit of her past, but you also really don't learn too much more about Emmy. But I feel like that's more than enough for her because, I mean, this game is taking place inside of a building most of the time, so it's like you don't have much to learn because the situation is not bigger and grander. So I think you do learn enough about her to be good, but all the other characters, villains, anybody else in the game, just not important enough. This is the Emmy show, as I've said. This was a small issue, the biohack thing. I love the biohack, but there's one of the pieces to the biohack is called Emmy's earbud, I believe is what it's called. And what that allows you to do is if you're watching the footage, you ever look up in the corner of it, it tells you what song is currently playing. That's what the Emmy's earbud does. And if you take that out, the song will still play, but you'll never know the title of it and know who the artist is. That's not really a super bad thing, but it's kind of like one of those like, it's a cute idea, but I feel like it's more of a detriment because it's like if you're liking the music, it's like, okay, so I want to know who this artist is. Like now you gotta sit there and put the earbud piece that's wasting a spot now that could be giving you 25% more health just so you can learn what the song is. I mean, I know you can always look on YouTube, look at Wikipedia and such and find the song, but it's kind of like, why did you have to make that one biohack? Why can't it just be something an option you can either turn off or turn on? I don't understand it. It's a cute idea, but I feel like the fact that it is something you have to put on there, if you want the music on there, it's more of a detriment than anything. It's a cute idea, it's more of a detriment. But that shouldn't even really been a thing. And this was not really an issue with the game, but something that it could have had. When you're playing through the game, if you ever go to the main menu after you stop playing or whatever, there's a thing called I think it's, what is it? It's Emmy's. I should have really looked that up. But basically, you get like kind of a thing that tells you with all the mini games you can play. Like you can actually go back and you can replay them, and that's cool. You can go back and replay. You can go back and replay, say, Missile Command or whatever, stuff like that, and you can kind of get a bit of a high score as you're doing it. That's really what you're fighting for. But there's a bit of an issue with like, since this is, I'm assuming all the mini games are Atari based. They're games of the past, or at least most of them are. It would have been nice to have a database where you can learn more about, Yars Revenge. You can learn more about Centipede. You can learn more about Missile Command. You can learn more about, the hacking one you got for the life plus 25% that's based off of this game or whatever. It's like, it would have been nice to have a database to learn more about the mini games. I mean, you can also stretch that out too. Maybe it would have been nice to have a database where you learn more about the characters as well. But I would have cared more about the mini game because, it's something that like you don't know about much about the characters you're playing. That's fine, but the mini games is like, this is supposed to be a celebration of Atari's past or whatever. Like this game is a huge Atari past reference. So why not give people more information about those things? Because a lot of people who are playing this aren't going to know. They never played old Atari games. Most people probably never even played Yars Revenge or Centipede or something like that. So it'd been nice to have a database that would have explained that and showed a bit more. But at least you can go back and play all the mini games again. And they even have like they have them separated by the mini games you play for power-ups, the mini games you play for doors, and then they have ones where you do for the boss fights, and they have mixture ones, like the ones that are just straight up mixed as a long challenge kind of thing. Which, that's fun too. That is also really good. I'm glad they have that, but it'd have been nice if you'd have some kind of information on just what the mini games were, what they're referencing, or whatever. Just a little bit more to it. But like, I know I harped on that a bit, but that's kind of just one thing. I'm like, I love this game and I love all this Atari, in the past kind of stuff, but I'd like to know more and not have to go look up more about it. The game could have did that, since it's a big celebration. Why not go with it? And that, that's pretty much been it about the game. It's like Yars Rising is actually a really, really good game. I suggest it to anybody who loves Metroidvanias. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can suggest it to Yars Revenge fans, like people who play. Because I looked it up. Apparently, Yars Revenge has had different games. They had one on Atari. Game Boy Color apparently had one. Apparently, they've done a reboot. I think of the last generation. Or maybe you can probably still play it now, but there's like a reboot of the Yars Revenge type of game. So I believe it's probably a Game Boy game. Like Yars has not been completely dead as a series. Apparently they've had stuff, but it's been like, I would say if you look at it, it's maybe like every 10 years since Yars Revenge came out. Yars gets some game that never really blows up or anything. This might be the closest it's probably gotten to blown up. And I imagine a lot of people probably didn't play this because I bought this game on a whim. Like I just bought it it was a 2D Metroid, looking at the case and just going with it. And I think I don't even think I even knew Wayforward did anything with this game until I first started it and saw the Wayforward part. But yeah, other than that, it's a really good game. I do suggest anybody who, if you like the music played, if you like Metroidvanias played, if you like, cyberpunk type elements played, if you're a fan of Atari, I imagine you probably get some enjoyment out of, playing those old Atari games in the terminals. If you can, suffer through going through the Metroidvania part of it, because I don't know what somebody's interest who liked Atari would like a Metroidvania, but yeah, I love this game. It was amazing. To go back to something I had said like a long time ago, I probably should have said this earlier in the video, but when I played Hollow Knight Silksong, and I did the kind of review on it, or I did the gaming motif on it, and did my kind of review and thought of Silksong. Right after I stopped playing Silksong is when I started playing Yars Rising. And when I played that, started playing this, that's what made me realize that sometimes if you're not enjoying a game for one reason or another, stop playing it. Like, just, if it's becoming more of a chore to play it and you find yourself more frustrated and not enjoying the game, it's best to stop. Because once I started playing this and I love the setting, I love the voice acting, I love the little mini games too. Like everything about this game I was enjoying and loving about it, and just made me realize that sometimes if you're not enjoying a game, just stop. Don't play it. You don't have to force yourself to play through it. Either play through it later when you have a better feeling of playing it, or you're just not interested in the game. I had to learn that with Silksong. Like I beat Hollow Knight. I remember it being, difficult, but I don't know. I eventually got through it, but Silksong I had to stop. And once I stopped and played Yars Rising, it made me realize that I wasn't enjoying Silksong. Like it was a good game, but I just wasn't enjoying myself. And once I played this, I realized, okay, so there's some games you just need to stop playing if you're just not having fun. But that's just going on a whole different tangent. But yeah, Yars Rising, really good game. I really couldn't wait to do this review. Like, as you tell, it's going to be kind of a somewhat long review, but I absolutely love this game. Are they going to do a sequel? I would hope so. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of room for it, but I have a feeling this may have just been a one-off. But definitely give this a chance. If you have a chance to play it, definitely do it. And that's pretty much it for this video. I'm not going to really bother saying with my next video what the prior ones, because a lot of my videos are actually coming out of order. So yeah, basically check out any of my other musing abouts that are just like this, that are, your spoiler-free reviews, or check out my gaming motifs, which is about really anything I want to talk about that's not just reviewing a game. It could be about, a character, a setting, blah, blah, blah. I could have actually made this one more of a gaming motif than a review, but I'd rather have reviewed the game because there was more to the game that I wanted to talk about. Will I do a game motif on this? Maybe. I'm not really sure. I think I said pretty much everything I wanted to say on this video. But yeah, definitely check out my other videos. Do the thing YouTube wants you to do. Hit like, put a comment. Let me know what you thought. If you played Yars Revenge, or not Yars Revenge. Yeah, actually, yeah. If you played Yars Revenge, let me know anything about that. You played Yars Rising, let me know. If you really like the music, let me know, stuff like that. But just and do all that. But thank you very much, and that's the end of it.